so they can solve their problems, and that's what we do basically. Till now we have completed more than 100 projects, and I would like you all to extend your support in developing the Koders community a lot, because I believe that Koders community should be grown strong. So like Koders provide opportunity to youngsters to go for webinars and present them like it did to me. So it's a great platform to learn and grow. So I would like you all to join to again extend the support to Coders community and Coders Convo as you have done today by joining up this webinar. I hope you enjoy this up. So today we'll be discussing on Django. Django is basically a web framework which we use in Python in order to develop things like web apps and websites. Um, I'd like to start with it. So yeah, the first outline will see that what things which we are sharing in this today. It's nothing much, but we will be getting a overview for it, all of it. Today we'll be discussing about introduction, basic knowledge of what Django gives to you, going into technical details, and then I'll show you a tutorial like how you can perform operations, and then we'll quickly go to the conclusion, see what all we have gathered from this webinar session. So I'd like to move forward, starting with the introduction part. Yeah. So the first thing what comes to your mind should be, what is Django? Django is basically a high-level Python web framework. Basically, it just seems that Django is limitless when it comes to backend development and other kind of things related to it. Python is quite fast and growing it towards technology, as we see. You can do unbelievable things with Python. So the Django is quite in a lot of demand when it comes to web framework in the industry. A lot of things have been developed through Django at this point of time. The apps which you're using, many of it have been developed through Django. So Django has played a major role in the development of web in present future. Django supports rapid development, so it's quite good for us. Yeah. Now, why should I use Django? Personally, if you are new technology and you don't know what web frameworks are and you've never worked on it, so I believe Django is one of the best frameworks to start off with. Django is quite simple. It's clean and rapid development. Like, it's quite clean and it's rapid development. It's built in ORM, provides you a great support. ORM extends for object relation models, mapper basically. Here you can relate the objects to models and you can create them in the database and other kind of things. It has a simple but powerful URL system. Like, its URL system to jump from one side to another side, from one page to another page, is quite strong and it's quite simple to understand. It has got built-in template system. Now there's a new word that comes over here, template. Well, I would like to tell you all that Django basically has an MVT architecture, and we might have somewhat MVC framework like model view and controller, but here we have MVT. Now here M stands for model and it remains the same what it was before. But we have a major change when it comes to view and template. Normally we see view as something what a user might see, and controller would control everything. Yeah. And controller controls everything. So when it comes to MVT, then we think of models, views. View is basically a file which controls what user might see. It is all the functions defined in it what a user sees. So view act here as a control, and template is something which a user actually sees, like an HTML code basically. So we get up. You will be quite interested to know that Django also has a cache system built in it. Like, for example, you build up a Django form and you don't store that into a database, but you actually fill up the form and you do whatever with it. But when it run again on the server, it has a cache system that rewinds in memory and tells you all that might have filled in that field. So that's a cache system, and it's quite unique to have that in a framework. Yeah, I'd like you all to please not draw, whoever is doing it. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it has a built-in authentication system as well. Well, when it comes to authentication and service provider and security, Python is quite powerful, and we all know Django has extended from Python, so it's also quite powerful. It has a built-in web server for development. It runs on your local host with a server 8000. That's the default one. You can also change it. It doesn't matter. But it has a built-in web server for development. You'll be seeing that when it comes to it. And the best feature which I think that Django provides is an automatic admin interface. Well, I truly believe when it comes to development of like super admins, then this feature has proved to be quite useful for me when it comes to development of a project. So like it completely removed my one module of creating an interface for super admins and other kind of things. So it's quite great to have a automatic admin interface. Most of the framework doesn't really provide it, but Django does. So it's a great thing that we have. Yeah, there's a question like true that what ID do I use? I generally use an integrated development environment of Visual Studio. I feel comfortable to code in it, but always that's a preference. Like when what you feel to go forward with, you can also go for basic ideally. It won't be a problem. But basic Python ideally, or you can go for Atom and Sublime. In whatever field you like feel comfortable. ID should be according to confirm, but I go for Visual Studio Code because like I really like that. So yeah, what is framework? Framework is something that's related with front end, back end, and code development. If you want, like, if you worked on web technology, then you might have seen that lots of framework in the market that comes up, which helps you to develop a good front end or a good back end. So framework actually is a good right sport, which help us to overcome uh, the struggle which we might face in combining the front end and back end. Framework actually lowers that and help us to build a strong website. Like it's a frame in which you can work on. uh, what's a framework like? If you've never seen a framework, what is a framework like? If you're confused, it's a stage company for performers basically. Like if you want to perform over there, it's lowers your burdens, it provides you resources that are present in it, and it helps you to grow. Who uses Django? If you're talking so much about the Django's, then you might be interested in knowing what companies are actually in the phase of using the Django's at the present. And you will be quite interested to know that Instagram has a backend development as Django, Pinterest and Bitbuckets, such big companies has a backend developed in the form of the Django. So that provides obviously a great support to all of us that the Django is used in the market and at a very great level. We all have used Instagram and we all know its popularity at this point of time and the framework that's provided. So you can all think of the features that Django provide with the help of Python in it. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, I got someone's message right over here. Love Python and would like to if there wasn't a group like Love Python. Yeah, so if you want to have a basic knowledge of what Django is, you need to go for Python. Like you should have a basic knowledge of Python because Django is a framework that's developed in not developed in Python, but that extends its support to Python. And it basically, if you're good at Python, then working on any project, you just take a project on Django, like I would just I did, and you got to learn a lot of new things because if you like go for PyCharm, yeah, PyCharm is also a very good idea, but I generally go for Visual Studio like preference. So let's discuss about Python at the present. If you are not familiar with Python, then Convoke has already provided some tutorials on Python, like not tutorials, we are organizing webinars and we surely would be organizing a webinar on Python in future. So if anyone's feel good to join up, then it's great. And Python is one of the fastest growing technology at the C at present. It has got #1 technology mark in the Forbes magazine recently. So you should go for Python and learn it. And if you have a basic knowledge of Python, just a basic knowledge, an overview of basic knowledge, if you want to know how to execute a simple program in it, I think it's good enough to go with the Django. You just need to have basic knowledge, like a core knowledge of it. Okay, let's move forward now. Is that okay for now? So now we'll be moving on to the main thing. Yeah, yes, sure, sir. You can run program with a click. Web libraries are like Python provides a number of libraries, and we'll be seeing that at present that what are the libraries provided in Django that help it to make such a popular framework at the present time. So let's see the workflow. This is how a basic workflow of the Django works. As you all know that when it comes to a website or web app, it basically is on the web browser. So it runs on the web browser. So how does everything turns up and joins to web browser? So you'll be seeing that. So this is the basic workflow. If you haven't seen any kind of workflow of Django till now, I believe it will help you to grow a lot. I will just simply cover each and every step in it, step by step, and you'll get to know and learn how the workflow in the Django goes up. So when it comes to workflows, the first and topmost thing that we are actually seeing is web browser. What user actually uses. If you are a user, then if you're running a website or web app, you're running on with the help of web browser, and that's how you see. If you're running on Instagram, then you're running the web browser. So it's what the user actually sees, and we need to provide each and every input hours that we want to show to the users into the web browser, right? We want to deploy our site on it. Yeah. Would you like to know why not Flask? Why Django? Flask is also a very good framework, but as you see at the present time, if you see of talk about best Python frameworks that comes up to development and fast and growth, because if you think about Flask, Flask has a authenticated like built-in admin system. I don't know it. I don't think so. It has. Django provides you that. Django has a lot of features which are like a supreme over Flask at the present. Flask is a good. I'm not denying Flask. Like I have not worked on Flask much, but I feel that how much I have used Django, it in Flask might the coding be easy, but in the Django you get a number of libraries that automatically makes your work easy. So that the features we explained in the start. So these are the features that help Django to excel any other web framework like in the market. And if you see that today the demand for Django is growing day by day as compared to Flask is more. So web browsers, yeah, Flask is more plain. Web browser, talking about web browsers. So yes, what a user actually sees responds to what user do when they like. If you want to, if you do a click or a type or press enter anything on a web browser, it automatically executes a function, right? So these are something which have been performed on a web browser, which you deploy an application on, and what actually goes into that application is shown in the web browser. So it's the topmost layer on which we need to provide each and everything we are going for. Like in the response, you can see clearly what respond. What a respond like? It's respond like a post that we do on a website that goes in and some operations are performed on it and get filtered out and we get the result of it. So moving on to the next thing, we'll be going from here, then we're moving like in a flow, you'll just see URLs. URLs are quite a common term when it comes to, unique resource locator layers. Like if you, every website has a web address, that web address is known as URL. URL is basically something that goes into the web browser. It's a particular location for it. Like it's a location for a home. We have a home. So our home has an address. So it's the site address of that site. So Django provides you the capability to just make up URLs quite simply, and that's a great thing to have. Uh, whatever goes into the URL is mapping to view. Like a view is a file that actually what a view does here. View is actually a controller over here. So the URL comes, it maps it to the view, and the whatever the function is associated with that website that runs, and we get to see its output on the screen. So basically, URLs map the site to the view, like the web browser to the view, and view performs that control. Is it clear to everyone? Can I see a quick, like a quick yes in the chat so I get to know that everything is clear right now? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah. So what's mapping over here? Mapping is an act of assigning the functions to the URLs, right? So if there are URLs, then we assign the functions to them, and basically they get wrapped overall, and we get to see what magic is Python doing over there. So moving on to the next part, that would be a template. If you are like that would be a sorry, that would be views. Yeah. So that would be views. If you are like unaware of what views are and you have no knowledge what a view does, but you have worked on MVC framework, so I'd just like to inform you all like view over here is just like uh, a controller. Basically, when we get a URL, we have a function associated to it, which has been, we have a function that has been mapped to the URL, and that URL is, that function is basically written in Python, and view is that file in which function is written. It basically helps us to control each and everything. It helps us to render content to template, like we can provide our content to templates. Templates are basically have the HTML files and the codes. So we can provide our code to the HTML files, and we have like get information from models. So if you have a model built up, you have built up a model or kind of form or anything that from the database, this has also been grabbed through views in this. Like everything that you build, like major functionality of the backend goes into the views. We create views like for main control functions. So they are like one of the, if I say about everything that goes into the product of development, view plays a major file. Like view is, you can say, like I believe it's but in my opinion that view is like the heart of it. So because everything is being controlled by view over here. It get information from model before rendering content, but it also put information into model into database through forms. So it has got some really, it's in the center and controls each and everything. Like if you see everything in here we control with the form of view. If you remove the view, then nothing has got any connection over here. View is a good controller, I believe. Yeah. So now shall we move forward with it, and we go to the template part. We see what a template is. We have taught a template already. As I just informed you, what a template does is basically is something which has the HTML files and the CSS files and the JavaScript files stored in it. Like template basically has all the CSS for HTML files stored in it, and we create a folder, separate folder for template and for static. Static has majorly the CSS and the JavaScript files and the images which we like to provide to a website. So it's basically something related with the front end development of the website. So if you have a front end, that's built in the template part. Template has got all the HTML codes, and basically you can also implement what all the features have been passed on, like a variable you believe, or have been passed from views to template. So template can implement that with the help of Java, with the help of Python over there. So it has got that features to perform the things. And one basic thing it has is a CSRF token. For those of you who are unaware of the CSRF token, when you're building a website in Django, so it's quite important to have a CSRF token because it basically helps you to like cross-site cross-validation forms are being handled by it. I will just get to you about that when it comes to like building up the whole process. So here we have a form. Like you might have actual HTML forms. So what HTML form consists of is what form we have here is completely different from an HTML form. Like the Django file is completely different. CSR, like not CSR, CSRF. It's a kind of token. Basically, I would just like to inform you about it, if you allow me to. Yeah, talking about CSRF token, I will give you example regarding it. Like I'm going to explain it when it comes to it. But it's like a cross-site request forgery. That's what's we define. It's a CSRF. And in protection against CS attacks, like we have attacks on a website, hacks and other kind of things. The Django has this built-in protection against CSRF attacks. If any cross-site attack is on the scripting and all those things, and malicious content has been sent by the website or the website, anything is handled over there. CR using the CSRF middleware is basically in the settings file. We'll be going to see that soon. And it is default included in the project. So it basically has a protection to each and everything, like any attacks that have been fired into a website. So basically act as a protection to all of that. That token does. Yeah, and if you don't have the CSF token, you might have to use some functions and other kind of things to get that because it's like really a thing you want when you're developing a website. Yeah. So moving on to the form part, I was on the form part. The form part is an HTML form and a Django form. When you might have heard HTML form that we basically built, but a Django form is quite different from here. What the HTML form consists of is a simple input elements, a checkbox, a submit button, radio button, and much more kind of things. But what Django forms provide actually over here is related to it. It's quite that only, but in its own ways. Like Django has a good system for that to make a form. Yeah. So what a Django forms actually does, it aims to get data actually. The Django form does that, what already mentioned over here. It has all the features, but the Django form here continues to get data, and that's what it fetch data. Sorry, I just can I skip the part once again. Yeah, yeah. So the Django form aims to fetch data from the HTML form. It helps to connect to models. Like fetch data from the HTML form basically means that if you have an HTML form that's built up, so it fetches all the kind of data from it, and it helps you to connect to models. Models are basically we'll get to know models are basically the database and the kind of models. So it's kind of CORS error on browser console that we get if we don't enable it in the backend, right? Cross origin header. Like I have not really worked on what CORS. Like I'm not really seen CORS, but I think like it's an we get a general error in the console as well. It's a cross origin header. Might be, yeah, might be, but I'm not sure. Like I don't have anything about that related to it. So I don't have much more about CORS. What is it? But I do think we know what CSRF is, and if it's like protection to the malicious attacks, then might be similar thing. Yeah. So when talking about forms, it comes to fetch data from HTML form and help us to connect to models. The models are basically things which are like database model kind of things. It helps to connect us to them and provide all the data that we have fetched from HTML form, and we can provide that to the model. Yeah. So now we come to models. It basically describe the structure of an object, what you want to store in database. Like if we build up any site, then it is supposed to have a database. So what database actually does is it stores all the information of the users. So here we had earlier talked about, yeah. So one second, just one second. Can I just take 1 second? Yeah. So yeah, so it stores data in the form of in the database. Like it doesn't store; it's the structure of an object we want to store in a database. It like object relation model we have discussed it earlier. So it's something like that we have. We have objects that help us to store data in the database and like go straight to database, create, edit, and request information as you wish. Like models are like very close to database and they majorly work on the database parts and the kind of thing that you want to store. We'll be seeing that in the development part. Like I'm providing an overview of the workflow that how it goes. Admin, and who an admin really is. Like Django has already provided a separate authentication code for the admins, and we'll be seeing that. So what an admin is, it helps to register your objects into your model. If you're an admin, you can straightly register your objects to a model, so you can manage data in the database. You can see your data and you can manage it. The registration has to be done in the first place. Like if you are an admin, then you have to register in the first place itself. When you like on the coding or part, so you have to do that thing. It is not done by another user in the Django. So like if you are like builders, then if a person wants to be a super admin kind of things, we need to provide him the password and the IDs that call of that thing. So database, when it comes to database, we all are aware of it. So if you don't know what database is, quite simple. It's a collection of data that all the information that we have in a particular form or anything information of products and the kind of things that have been stored in the database and provided with a wonderful backend platform for easy management. Like Django has a good database, DB SQLite, and it's wonderful to form. Like it's good for backend development. Yeah. So I hope you all might have just understood what we have got through right now. Can I get a yes or a no? Whatever any questions might be there, if you wish to ask something. Yeah, so that was a break. Yeah. You're able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So moving forward, we'll be going to technical details and we will seeing some of the confirm coding part that we generally do to run our app and something like Django. So you'll be seeing that on some basic stuff, like if you want to just use it. Really first seeing the directory structure. That's a directory structure. So if you have seen that, like I would show in my CMD how is it created and how everything is done over here. Just like to present my CMD. One second, like to share. Yeah. So those of you who are completely new to Django have no knowledge of it. So just pip install it. The command to pip install is python/m pip install Django. Yeah, so that's a command. You can just install it and make sure that to install a version which is above 2.0 because they're like above 2.0 because there have been some major changes in that part, and 2.0 is quite easy to use and it has great support for developers. So just suggest that to go for take the Django version 2.0. Yeah, so when you can just pip install it, and after you pip install it, if you want to make a site, then just move to a desktop part. I'm in the desktop part and I want to see how do I create a thing. So if you want to create any project, start a new project in Django, you just need to have some commands. That's Django admin. Basically, Django has like an exe file in the in its location, and it says Django admin in it. So it basically, if you are the admin, you're creating a project, so it gets into that portal and helps you to create a project. So basic command is start project and the name of the project that you like to start. So like this is a basic directory and working on it. So let's name the project as something related to say new project. Let's create a new project. It does that and runs over. And just have a look at the chat by the minutes running. Yeah, so it's completed. And if you want to see like we can change directory to new project and see that if it has been created. Sorry. Yeah. So we have the new project over here, like we have, and just see the contents in it. So just yeah. So here you can see that we have this dir, but I'm just going to the folder and show you what all the things we have we have in over here. So going on to the folder part. Yeah. So here you see we get this first structure which has an init settings and url.py file. You can see in my directory structure which I provided over here. So one second, just let me show you that part. Yeah, so now into my desktop and we have, you can see we have a new project created over here. We click on it and we get over here. So what is this new project? Is basically is something that has the entire structure of the project in it, and this new project, and it has two files like a manage.py file. Then a manage.py file is extremely essential for us and will help us to run our programs. And we have a new project over here. And the new project has some files like initialization file. It basically has the initialization code for it, right? And we have yeah, so I know that coders who use Windows are sinners. Yes, so we have the settings file over here. The settings file is extremely important, like extremely important. Whenever you create something, it has all the Django modules declared in it. Like if you want to include a package in Django, you don't need to just install it, click install it. You can just include that name in the settings file and it will be done. So it's extremely important. And we have the URLs part over here. URLs part is also great. URLs part helps us to build the URLs which you want. And after that we have WSGI file. WSGI file is basically control the settings on module file and help us to run some models using that. So these are all like, if you come up with something, so these are like the initial things which you build up. So these are all really developed in Django and you don't need to worry about them. Just that you need to upgrade them when you are working on an app and that kind of things. So after that, like that's the not the main project, we go to main project. And once you see here, we might like to make an app over here. Like if we are building a web or anything, website, to prevent like redundancy and the kind of things, we generally built an app using manager.py. So I'll just show you how to do that. Yeah, so back to the console, and here we see, and back to CMD, right? Hands down, back to the CMD part. And like I like to go for Python. We get the manager.py. And let's see what all commands we can go through with manager.py. So manager.py is something that's managing all the things like a manager over here. Just manages all the things. Let's see what all things we can go with manager.py. If you print a hash h to it, then we get to see all the command that can be wired after it. Yeah. So this is something we have over here. You can see like we can create an authorization for the admin, change password, create super user. We can create a super user for the whole commands. Then we have something like content types. We can remove stale contents, content types to this. And for the Django mainly, we have all this like check, compile messages, create cheatable, DB shell, like some data to database, different setting. We can change the setting file to get dump data. We can just flush and remove everything, or we can inspect the database to inspect DB. All these things can be done. Then we have load data, that's help us to load the data. We have make messages. We can make migrations. Migrations are basically something when you build up a model and we want to store that into database and things. So we just like make migrations and we migrate it. Followed by, we can set test email. It's for your shell. It helps us show migrations, what migrations we have made earlier in the past. So shows that we can quickly remove all the data in our SQL, like SQL file, then using SQL.flush. It was migration file to SQL, and it's something all many things required. And this thing we have over here, like start app. So if you want to make a start app, you can just do that things easily, like making a start app. Using a start app, you can make it. And then we have sessions. You can clear all the sessions that have been made to the file. The static files like run server, find static. These are all the things we have. But what we main thing we want to create is an app over here. And for this, we'll be using the start app. So just taking that of command and pressing start app. After that, you print the name of the file. Like if you want to provide a name of file, like I say, let's new app. I'll just check it through. There's no naming convention as such. The naming convention for the files and you want to create a Django project is same as like you want to create a variable. So you start with zeros and ones and you cannot declare hash. It just has to be underscore all the things. Yeah. So it has run, and I hope we might have just something to show you over here. Something quite good. Yeah. After running that command, you can see that we have a new app folder that has been created over here. And let's see what this new app folder basically has. Yeah, see over here. Till now we have discussed about like models, views, and everything. So we get all these files over here using in the apps. So what we have is an initialization for the folder like init. Then we have an admin that's related to the admin part. You can just request anything. Then we have apps. There's basically the app configuration that we have just created. Followed by models, we'll be creating a models. We have in the test cases, we have test file over here. And then we have a views file that controls the views part and all, controller basically. What we don't have here is a template. So yeah, it's true that templates are not created automatically. We have to create here a separate folder for template. So let's just create a separate folder for template and name it as template. So all that HTML stuff will be stored in the template over here in this file which we'll be creating. And one thing to see over here is that we don't have the JS part as such. So you can choose to create a static folder for it. In this tutorial, I will not be diving into so much depth about the front end. So let's not be doing that. Just keeping quite simple. Let's not jump to the presentation part. Let's see what we have in the presentation part. Yeah. So you have got to see all these files that have been made till now. You have got to see what all things we have, like each and everything. We have a super container in the project, like this project name. We have a manage.py file, that's a command and utility to interact with the Django project. As you have seen over here, we have this has like math manage.py just took a help and then run server, the kind of things. Then we have a project followed by initialization settings file that's provides all the basic configuration and the URL file. And then we have other things like migration folder in it. It stores scales of the variation that are taking place in the project. Static file has the CSS content, templates has the HTML file, and admin is the basic support for the admin to provide solution and everything. It's simply provided over here. And what you see is a DB SQLite over here. So since now Abby hasn't got this file, if you are aware of it, we haven't got this file. So let's create this file. So how to create it? Yeah. If you want to create this file, you just need to do a simple command, Python manage.py run server. Run server is basically something that's by Django has own server defined, like it's default port on 8000. So if you run it, it basically runs on the port number 8000. What you need, it says run over here, then you just copy this port and we can go to the browser and paste it down. Yes, so I go to the browser part and let me paste that code down over here. When it runs, I believe you're able to see my browser. Are you able to see my browser? Can you just respond to it? Yeah, so you can see that the Django has basically in main server over here. You can find the Django documentation part over here. You have a tutorial for a pooling app, what you need to build on, and you have the Django community over here. So everything over here. So this is installed successfully. Like the app is configured and installed successfully. So that's a token of it. And like if I want to close it, I just close it from here right now. Just close it and take you to the CMD part, like the main folder. Yeah. It's still running. Yeah, and now you get to see like a db.sqlite3 file over here. This SQLite file 3 file is basically the database. It's database management file that is created automatically. That's it. Python Django has kind of its own database for every form that's come up to him. So it's managed over in the db.sqlite file. So that's something that's really important. As soon as the first time you run it, we have got a database. So that's amazing feature that Django actually provides. Just getting back to the presentation now. I seem to have covered all the dictionary details over here. We're moving to the modules part. I've already discussed it, most of it. Like you've got to see what a module is over here. What's the packages? Python is packaged something like a folder and create the whole package of it. Then we have commands related. We have just run this command, started a project, started an app. We have not created a super user yet. Let's create a super user. Like if you want to create a super user is the super admin. You can believe like one away. If you want to create it, just go for Python. I believe if I've ended it, like 1 second. I'll just see if I ended my. See, yeah, over here. Like you can see all the operations of gets and the kind of things are being noted over here. So if you want to just control C and break out from it. So let's see what we have. I have a new project that's over here. So a new project has been over here. So we would like to, see what actually comes when it comes to create how to create a super user. Like if you're looking for to create a super user, let's see how to create that. The command for that is quite simple and stable command. and that's Python. There's something is manage.py and everything over there. And this we need to go is create a super user. Create super user. No, sorry, I believe no such thing like auth user. We have not created anything like. So sorry for that part. We can create a super user for now because we have actually done nothing. Like done nothing. That's, nothing is running anyways. To see that. Did I just type the name wrong? I just see. It should run. Let's see. That's command right? Create super user. I just used that. Oops, I believe there has been like something. So just move on to the next part and see like later we can do it. No such table like auth user. So just see like how we can make it in the future. Errors do come up and errors are part of learning. So feel free to get errors like it's only helps you develop. So moving on to the next part, we have actually run the server. We have made some migrations. We're doing that when it comes to creating models and all. And we're putting it to the migrate and seeing the database part. So all these commands have been covered up. These are some templates that will come to the development. We will just surely be going that. But it's something like I would like to make you aware of. For example, in Python, you can create templates, and we do have templates. So templates are basically the HTML files I've told you earlier. They are something in the form of HTML code and all the things that are provided over here. And there you can also run your code. So how do you need to run that? So basically, if you want to run your code, like for percentile for objects, like it has a for loop, it's an if and while another kind of loops over there. So you just need to run over this part. So like percentile basically shows that it's a Python code, and end for we don't have the indentation over here, so we go for like end for. We do that basically in a content and block content. We'll see that when it comes to development. Yeah, moving ahead, we have form.acp. If you've created a form, like an HTML form through the Django, and if you want to just post it, then it's Django way of rendering an HTML form. It's form.add paragraph, and then you have a CSRF token that we have to define. This is used to prevent ill-intentioned hacker from hacking into our server database server. So that's like a unique token. Yeah, please remember to wrap up into the new HTML form tag. Yes, this CSF token and form.asp token has to be provided in the HTML form. So please take care of that part. Then we move to the URL configuration new system. So that's it's a new system. What we are new system over here is like there have been two systems. What earlier was there and what new is there. So in the new we have just a path function over here which in which we define the path of the page we want to go to, and we have the view.function. Like view basically the file we have seen just now, and function is something which we'll be getting and posting the post request and the guest request from it. And similarly we can do it with the help of class like class dot over here. Class.as view. It helps us to render a request to the user and get and post requests are being handled to the class file using as. But you can just go for the function if you want. It's become like quite simple, but in the past we faced a lot of struggle. So because we need to define religious expression for anything, religious expression for anything, every and that was a way more simpler than in here. one second. Yeah. So after all this, I believe I should be moving to the main tutorial part that is seeing how you can create a file and other kind of things. So that would really help us. Let me go on to the tutorial and show you what coding can we do. So that will do it quite quick, huh? Yeah. So let me just take to my desktop. You have a new project right over here. We just go to that part. And in the new project, you see that we have all these things that have been created. So the first and the foremost thing, like if you created an app in it, so it's becomes really important. Like you go to your new project. One sec. Yeah. First of all, that's become really important. Go to a new project and go to the settings.py file. The first and foremost thing that the developer should do when it comes to rendering over here. And you have all the stuff over here. So here you add that new app. Like whatever is the name of it, just add it over here. So in this way, the app is like an installed app in the server through the Django, and we can use it. I believe the name is correct of the folder that we are using. And it's new app, and it's that only. Just remember to like it's a dynamic list, so just remember to get a comma over here, and we can just save it. Yeah, once it's saved, if that's something basic thing you want to always want to do. Like, and then you go to the URLs part. If you see we haven't defined any URL over here, just as an admin URL. So let's go in the browser and see what's an admin URL really means. So I will just running that Python manage.py server over here, and then we're going to move to the admin part. Like my ideal is Visual Studio.code, and you can use whatever ideal you wish to. So that's not a problem. Yeah, we go to run server part. Yeah, performing checks and it's all good. Copy this URL. Go to the is something like we have. Just refresh it, I believe. So we have over here. Then let's go to the admin part first. See what's an admin do. We go for admin. Like operation admin, no such table. Like we have never created any table such right now, so it's not showing anything. It's an admin part. I don't see that happening much. So just go to admin login. You usually get this error. You need to just correct it, I believe. We haven't created anything, so I believe I'll show it to that when it comes. I just like to see what is the problem over here. Give me a second. Something actually using it, I believe. Oh yes. Just avoid it for now and just focus on what we can do over here. So if you want to like, we want basically want we don't want to do anything in this part over here in the main project. Then we go to the what you say like in the app file and we create over here a urls.py file that will be handling our URLs. Yeah, we have the URLs file over here, and if you want to like pass anything to it, so you go to URLs files and you just go with include Yeah, include the functionality over here. And like we want to pass anything and everything to that file. So like path none, and yeah, then we pass it to include. What you want to include is we have to include that new app, and we have the .urls files in it, .urls. Yeah, so that gets included. Are you able to see my screen right? Not problem now to see my screen. Like, what are you able to see right now? Can you please inform me? You are able to see the Visual Studio Code?
Yes, Kartik, it's V Studio Code.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vaishnavi. Yeah. So if you're able to see the Visual Studio Code, then you must be able to see the file as well, I believe. So yeah. So here we have just included it, and we like to go to the URLs file over here. And once you come here, we see that there's nothing. So what we need to do is just need to copy all the stuff from here. And like not all, just copy it for now. Just copy it. The simple thing to do. You go over here, we paste it. And like we have no thing to go with admin or at this point of time, just move admin. And we have just, if you want to have paths over there, not a problem. But I eventually won't have that. Then we don't want to have anything like created to admin. And here we want to declare something like a function which we'll be working on and creating. So yeah, let's name the function like home for now. And just the function will be obviously rendered from views. So I say from views. And nothing declared in the views file for now. Import stuff. Like every function can be imported for this. So that's the easy way I go for. Yeah, when we come to the views part, like if you come to the views part, you see obviously see here something like the Django shortcuts or render. So render is quite one of some basic functionalities that you already have if you want to render form and thing. So just not anything like do anything with it for now. Let's just create a function like for def. We want to create a function which says like say something. So we have def home function, and the home function we get a request. And basically what we have in a request is something related to say request. We check what the request is. If request.method get, click on to see what kind of request is it. It's a get request or a post request. Yeah. So what we done to define over here is a template basically. Like that's my way to work. I go here, I include a new file in the templates, and I name is at home.html. We go to the home.html file, then we have like we can just create an HTML document over here. Quite simply, just do one thing like HTML, create it quickly. We create the head tag,
Kartik, am I audible?
followed by the bond. So like make a title over here. Let's give the title to app, something like this, and but keep it quite simple. We go to the body section and says we want to something pass over thing over here. So just leave that for now, and we'll see what we do over here. Yeah, but just see what we need to do over here. Just make a pause over here. and we're just doing something with the heading part, like H1 is the heading. So doing something really simple over here. So let's come back to the views file. If we have a get request, then we see the get request and we say I want to make a template name basically. Declare a
Kartik, can
template
you hear
name.
me?
The template name is what's the template we are using? It's home.html. We define it over here. Then I wish to just like return render, and what we do is we get the request, what request we have come from, and we provide here a template name to which you need to refer it, template name, followed by providing a dictionary, right? So a dictionary, like if I want to say my heading should be my home, for I say like data, my home, and I want to be like heading for me. Just doing quite simple things so you can get how we are handling the get and the post request and other things over there. Just move to the home.html part and we can just use it over here. So what you need to do is just say data. There I believe that might do. That might just do what I really want to do with it. Like if it's going to work, then we are going to share like my home over here. There's something basically simple, quite simple, what you have to do in here. So we have created a URLs pattern, we have designed a function over here that is from views.urls, and we've got to see what all things we have over here. So if it's working quite great, then I believe that's what we need to do. We created a reviews file over here, right?
Kartik, can you hear me?
Saved it.
Hello,
I
Kartik?
have to see if I have done nothing mistake. So I usually refer to my previous documents, just previous models, right? We're doing kind of same thing over here. And then we go to the viewers file. Then we have a views file over here from .views. Yes, yeah. .views. Yes, it's short .views. Yeah, just .views. Yeah. So we like to run it and save it, and I want to run it. So basically, I've kept the server running. So you can also go for that, and you can choose to keep the server running. So see that, yeah, we have the server running. It's port on this port. So just quickly go to that port and see what's all over there. I will just direct you to my web browser. I hope you are able to see like everything. Just we go to the hit to that URL and see what's waiting on over there. Yeah, we have a name error, but that's bad. Name data is not defined, so we get to see that something might not have been passed. So that's an error. Let's see how we can work on that. So just remove the dictionary from here. Just create a dictionary over here. Then data, like data message is equals to my home. And let me do this part and this pass the data dictionary over here. Just save it, and then we do the use the file. Just go to the home.html part and see that we have the data message. I believe this should work. Let's see. I need to do something right. There has been any mistake. I just like to have a look what part is missing. Just nothing that's missing. One second, guys. I just do everything stuff quite quickly. I just think I would have to re-edit it. One second, guys. I believe there was a bit of mistake. I don't think it's a mistake. I just think I did something. So just take you back to the code part. Yeah. So yeah, I just did quite a small mistake. So when you're running it, you basically need to have that, block content variable defined over here. It helps you to like create a block content over here, and then in the use.py file, just make sure that it's in the string. I did that, so that was my mistake. I'll just take you to the browser now. I believe it should be running. Let me check once. Yeah, so it's running. Let's go to the browser part. Yeah. So as you can see in the browser, you might have seen that we have this my home over here. I just run that page. So I have just extended that URL section. So I'll just show you how to extend that URL section. Then you go to the views.py file. Yeah, and you go to the URLs. So over here, I've just put it a URL over here, like /home, and it goes to the home functionality. Like you can also do it for not /home, and just make it like about and all the things. So like if you don't want to have any username, then you go for that and you go with name of the function like home we have, and just take this to about. Yeah, and see what's going on over here. Copy it, just copy it for now. Change it to about. Yeah, make an about.html file. Just do it really quick so you get to know what all the things have been carried out over here. Save it, and you go to create a new template for about. Like, just go for new file and create a template for about. Sorry. Yeah, once it's done, I just copy the all the things from here. Paste it. Ah, I hate that thing. Yeah. So I believe over here we would just have an about section, and on the home page we're having an URLs, like we have a home section, and on the about page we have an about section. Just change that URL to about. Save it for now. Go for about.html. Just save it. Just remember, you just save it because everything that going to template, that's kind of like running on server, so it's stayed automatically if you want. But rest all the things, just make sure that you edit them and save them. After that, we will just sing a post request, and that will be it for today. That won't take much time, I believe. Yeah, as the server is running, just take you to the browser part quite quickly. Yeah, so I've taken you to the browser part, and let's see, like refresh it once. Yeah, so on the like nothing URL provided over here, we have my home. Let's go for the about. Like I provide the URL for about. So you see, like, we have my about over here. So if you just want to like do anything over here, then it can easily be done. I'm just taking you to a functionality for like for a post request. I'll don't forget. So what for post request, I'll be taking up a button over here. Like let me create something like a form. I remember to keep that in the block content. Form. Let's create a form. Just have a pre-built, so I will just copy paste that one. I don't believe it would be a problem for anyone. Quickly come back to the home.html file in the new part. Is it? Yeah, new app. It was home.html file. Right over here. Yeah. So the CIS token is extremely required, and remove this users part from here. We don't really need that. And just make a submit button which says sign in, or you say perform. I'll just say the verb to perform. Okay, so it's a post request that says a button to perform. It's a CSRF token defined in it. If you just don't define a CSRF token, you get a error. We'll see that also as well. And it goes to performance. I go to the user.py file and I see what kind of request is it. Is equals to post. So that's the last thing we see. Like if you want to just post a request, you can do it using it. For post, we generally do a response request. So we get HTTP response. We can include using Django.http, use HTTP response, and we just say, like, it takes you to another page, like request posted. So we get like this. Okay, we just save it for now and see like server is running properly and we don't have any kind of error. I believe that would help us a lot if we don't have any kind of error. We get to know what our generally a request means. Let's just take you to the browser part quickly. Yeah. So we are in the browser part. I have just tried to refresh it and you can see that we have a button over here which says perform. And you click on this button and you're gonna think it take to a new page, and that says the post request posted. So this is how you can just post anything and go to the post part basically in the URL. That you can do. And if you want to see what CSRF token basically is important for, let me show you. So I will be in the backend part, I will be just moving the CSRF token and let's see if now it's working. Okay, I've removed it. Okay, then we just go to a refresh part, just refresh it once and see. The home doesn't have anything. Yeah, you see, CRF token is missing, so that's something which you need to provide in order to get a post with anything. So you need to provide Django, and we get, if you want to read more about it, go to the Django CSRF mechanism for that. So it's really an important thing that we like to have, and just include that. And now we refresh the server, just perform, and we get to the refresh. So that's how you can just, I'd like to wrap up from now. So that's like something which you can do. You can also perform some editing stuff. That's quite the basic one which I shared. So you can create your templates, like if you want to get a professional HTML template, you can do that. You can go for models and create your own models. Models, something like if you want to create over here, just create a class, define something, and that would be your model. And you, from the forms, you just need to create a form file over here. In the same, like in the same directory, just create a form file if you want to make something new. But we don't have much time, so the most I could cover up, I defined that. I hope you like this session a lot. So that's what I believe. So I think we have just mixed the super saver part, like create super user part. So I won't end up without seeing that. So 1 second, just let me see if now it's working. Sorry, I just run the server again. I'm so sorry. Let's see if we can create a super user over here. Now I'll just see to that, like if Anthony inquires, I'll just post that up in the Discord section. So please follow us at Discord. We'll spam a link, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and other kind of things to get to know more about it. And I just don't think what the error was. I'll just have a look at it. Like error is a new thing. So let's conclude it. Let's conclude this session. So it was amazing to all have you all, and let's see what all we have learned from here. So the conclusion is something like, if you want to building a front end, then alignment consistency is the main part you would be focusing on, the basic rules, and error is your friend. Like learn to embrace it. Error is something that we always face in our lives, so it's quite important. And simple things are good. Like keep the simple website as simple as possible. Don't play hero. Learn to cooperate with one another. So that's one thing which I get to learn at Koders, and it's quite the rule of life as well. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, GitHub. Uh, Glad to have you in this session. It was really nice having you. Thank you to Koders community for organizing this one, and a very great thank you to all for having us over here. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.